What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about the biggest culture shocks of living in England. Today, I want to check out this video of a fellow American talking about the things that stood out to her the most when she moved to England for the first time. What are the biggest differences between living in the United States and living in England? I'm very curious to know. So let's take a look.
So I'm going to be going through some of the biggest culture shocks that I've experienced being here as an American in England.
Okay. And it's very helpful that she's an American in particular, because I feel like I'm going to be able to relate to the observations, the weird different stuff that stood out to her the most living in England. So that's kind of nice.
Okay, so first off is the size of things, and that is actually like the very first thing that I noticed when I got off
Size
the
of
plane, like
things?
literally immediately. Everything's so much smaller. In America, the road.
I was like, the size of things? Everything. Now it makes sense. Everything is so much smaller. Are we talking about food in particular? She says everything is so much smaller. What does that mean? I've, I think, are we talking about food? That's what I've heard. That food in America is like the portion sizes are so gigantic. And sadly, I think me and like all Americans have gotten used to it. I'd be kind of nervous now going to England. Like, would I starve? Would I go broke trying to, like, would I have to buy like 2 orders of a meal to make it one American meal? Oh my gosh, this is actually concerning me a bit. Okay, what exactly does she mean?
Roads, like if you've been to America, the roads are massive,
Oh,
the rooms are massive in the car, and that was one of the first things I noticed was just that the roads were like tiny.
what? Wait, what? This is not what I thought we were talking about. I thought we were talking about food. I want to talk about food. No. The roads? The roads are smaller? How? I mean, God. How can you make the road even smaller? You know that a car is the size of a car. It basically perfectly fits on a road. I guess there's some space. There's some space on each side. But that's just so, you have a margin of error. If roads were tighter, if roads were smaller than they are, and I'm thinking of an American road when I think of a road, that'd be kind of nerve-wracking. Wait, what? Why would English roads be smaller? Are Americans just bad at driving? Is what I think a small road, a normal road, actually a gigantic, massive road, and I still think it's the proper size? Oh my God, this is blowing my mind. What else did she say? She said the rooms are bigger in America. Is everything bigger here? I thought, wait, I'm having a crisis. Are we weird? Is everything just gigantic here and I think it's normal? Oh my God.
And I don't mean to be insulting, but like it kind of reminded me of like being in Disneyland and like on a ride. Because like in
What?
California, like the roads have like 6 lanes in the motorway or
Okay.
freeway in America. So that was really like trippy coming over here because there's only like 2 or 3 sometimes, or like if you're somewhere sort of outside of London, it could be like one, and it could be like one tiny one.
I mean, I'm a little confused about what she specifically means here. Depending on where you are in America, like there can be highways that are 1 lane, 2 lane, 3 lane. Usually 3 lanes is like a normal highway in America. She's talking about what? Was she talking about like California and stuff, or Florida? In some major, gigantic, massive cities in America, I guess you could have a 4 lane highway, but that's a bit abnormal. So is her perspective a little different depending on where she lives in America, or is mine, or English roads actually tiny? I'm just confused.
So that was probably the first thing ever that like really, really shocked me was the size of things here.
Okay.
Also, like portion sizes of
Yes.
food.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I
Yes.
actually lost, I actually lost a lot of weight when I first started living here because
Really?
like going like back home, that is like a very regular thing is like to go
Wow, that's interesting too to think about. She lost weight moving to England. Maybe it would just be good for Americans to move to England. A ton of English people just went, no, no, stop. And then that's too late. I'm spreading the word. Americans, move to England for your diet plan to lose weight. But that is interesting because if you're in the English culture, you're probably just going to get acclimated to the portion sizes, which are normal in England, but small for us Americans, is probably just healthier for you. It'd probably be good to like recalibrate our American appetite a bit, huh? In a healthy way. You know, you don't want to lose like too much weight where it's unhealthy, but this sounds like it could be in like just a healthy portion size kind of way.
out to restaurants. So that was something that I was really surprised to see. It was like, oh my god, I could actually eat this and not have to take away like half of it. I think
Right.
just in general the size of things, but also the design of things. And what I mean by this is like colors specifically. And this
Okay.
might be really weird and just a really small thing that I've picked up on, but
Okay.
like basically, well, I guess you could take the tube map for example. There's so many different colors. You can also look at like just transportation services
Colors.
like cross country or like what is it, Great Western. I feel like a lot on transportation there's so much color and like
Oh, what? This is this is very specific, which I like. I feel like this is the kind of thing you would only notice if you're like say an American going to England for the first time. These are the tiny little weird details you're going to notice. Like it, as Americans, we don't notice weird stuff about America because we live here. If you live in England, you don't notice things that are like different in England. But when you're first moving to another country, it's this weird stuff that's gonna like jump out at you. And it's that the transportation signs in England are more colorful. Okay, that sounds nice. I got nothing to complain about there. That's good.
street signs and there's like bright blue, there's like yellow, there's loads of different colors. Whereas in California, anyways, I know California specifically, all of the street signs are like a dark green. And then
Okay.
if you're looking at like any sort of
Okay.
transportation, it always seems to be like dark blue. Like
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's accurate. Most like signs for stuff are like green or blue, the same color. I wouldn't describe our street signs and like speed limit signs and directions and labeling stuff like as particularly colorful or beautiful. It's just not something I ever thought about or thought could be different.
like the color of our passports. Or like if you go
Huh.
to the DMV, it's always like dark blue. Whereas here, I feel like there's a lot of like pink or a lot of like yellow
Oh,
and bright blue and red and like different colors. So that's something else, I guess, that I
oh. That would stand out to me. That is so crazy. That is something you never ever think about existing here in America. How boring and monotone our color scheme is for street signs and direction signs. But if stuff was like pink or yellow or actually vibrant, that'd be kind of nice. Wait, the more I think about this, the more I like it. That actually sounds kind of fun. Okay, I've never heard that before. Okay.
kind of maybe connected to Disneyland. The second
like
biggest
Disneyland.
thing was accents, obviously.
Accents. Yes.
But what I mean by this is like every film that has like someone with a British accent, they're either like really intelligent and like the smartest person in the world, or they're like some really cool character like James Bond. I guess when I first came over here, it was
So, is she talking about like when we see movies and films here in America? If there is a British character in a movie, they are usually depicted as suave or the smartest person or sophisticated and fancy. That is definitely a stereotype like we Americans have of British people, and I think it is because like in movies and television in America, British people are like depicted like as very the accent is seen as very fancy and very cool. So is she trying to say that is the case when you move to England? Or when you finally move to like England, you start to realize, okay, just everyone has this, like normal people have this fancy accent, not just like movie stars. Is that what we're getting at?
Almost like I felt like so nervous because it was like that's all it had that connection with. So I guess yeah, that was like I just found it really nervous to talk to people here. I think also coming from where I
Okay.
grew up, anyways, it you don't really like hear other English accents aside from like
Right.
the one you hear in films, which is like usually like some sort of posh London accent. The first time I
Right.
came over here, I was
Right. These are fan. Oh my God, this is so interesting. This is stuff you just would never think about unless you moved to England. This is really interesting hearing her point of view, actually. So she was actually nervous talking to people in England because everyone had an English accent. And growing up here in America, when you hear an English accent, it's like a movie star or someone that's very fancy or foreign. And we're like, oh my God, oh, how cool. And then you move somewhere where everyone talks like that. And you're like, oh my God, everyone is so fancy and famous. And it's just like, no, that's how everyone talks. I don't know how British people perceive the American accent. I think British people in general are exposed to the American accent a lot more through like movies and TV and content and the internet. British people have heard the American accent like a lot. I think a lot more, and us Americans we don't like hear or interact with an English or British accent, except in these like extraordinary circumstances. So I actually totally understand what she's getting at. That's funny.
like usually like some sort of posh London accent. The first time I came over here, I was introduced immediately pretty much to a Yorkshire accent. And I was like, I didn't realize that there were like so many different accents in English. Hey
Right.
guys, so my phone ran out of storage. But yeah, as I was saying, like the accents, I just wasn't expecting there to be like such different accents,
Right.
literally from county to county in England. It's so different.
Right. That's a good point. Because again, this is also just like I realize us Americans have so many stereotypes around like English people that probably get shattered when when Americans finally travel and live in England. And one of them is there's basically one accent that we hear, like this one British accent we hear in movies. I think she referred to it as kind of posh. And yet the reality is there are tons of accents in Britain, in England. I have to admit, I think us Americans, our ears are bad at picking up the difference between a lot of English and British accents. Like our ears aren't trained. Like when I have done videos where I try to listen to different English accents, and I have a lot of trouble like pinpointing or discerning the difference. Like my ear hasn't been trained somehow. Huh.
Different. Also like slang words and stuff, but like specifically like the accents, it was the one that like gave me a big culture shock because like
Right.
I just didn't realize how diverse they were around the country.
Right, right.
And yeah,
Right. I've looked into this a little bit on the internet here on YouTube. So I'm aware of the tons of accents that exist. But I think for most Americans like her, this would be a huge culture shock because we really, in our mind, there's like just the British accent, whatever that means.
I mean, like I did get a little bit nervous around people speaking to me because it was like a new accent, and I was like
Right.
really like Yeah, I'd only ever heard it in films, so that was another big
Right.
culture shock for me.
Right.
It's a different thing hearing it in act.
It's like all English people are celebrities when when Americans and I think this genuinely happens in America. If you have an English accent or a British accent, if you come to America, the first thing Americans will do will be like, "Oh my gosh, your accent is amazing. Where are you from? Oh my gosh, your accent." Like Americans will get so excited. And I don't know if English people share that same excitement for American accents and interacting with that in real life. Maybe if you live in like a lower population area that doesn't get so many tourists, maybe then it'd still be novel and you'd be like, oh, American, that's interesting, you know. All right, get out of here.
Accent in your country and like, oh, that's cool, and then like hearing that accent everywhere and now you're the one with the accent. And
Right.
lastly, the
Right.
third thing that gave me like the biggest culture shock was the way people celebrate holidays here. Obviously, like Halloween
Okay.
and Valentine's Day, they're getting like bigger here, and I've noticed that even like when I first visited in 2014, like it's starting to get more and more big, like different holidays, especially like Halloween and Valentine's Day.
Okay.
But in America, it's like a different level. Like America really takes that kind of thing really seriously, like, and it's
Really? I never thought about this either. That's kind of cool, though. In America, we do take holidays really, really seriously. But I thought that was kind of normal. Um, Man, this would be really interesting. If you went to England to see how serious people take, like Halloween. Like Americans take Halloween, which is kind of like a silly, childish sort of holiday. Um, American adults take Halloween extremely seriously. All the decorations, all the planning, all the costumes and the candy, all the preparation, the parties, and then maybe, the kids get to trick or treat. That's an afterthought, whatever. It's almost like a holiday for adults here in America as well as children getting to trick or treat in their costumes. When I think about it like that, I'd totally believe that Americans celebrate some of these holidays a lot more intensely than other places in the world. But I kind of like that. I kind of like that about America. I think that's fun. I think that's fun. Interesting. But I think so far in this video, we're only like halfway through this video. It's very interesting stuff. I love hearing about the experience of living in England from an American's point of view. I can really relate to what she's saying. And these things do sound interesting and different. And it's almost funny like learning how different America is as well. Maybe we're the weird ones. Um, the line is blurred a bit here, but I think I'm going to stop here for now and continue the rest of this in part 2. I'm enjoying this a lot, so if you've enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in part 2 of this, or just more videos like this in general, me reacting to England and Britain and British culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.